everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and welcome to our Winnipeg Sports Talk Holiday Special. With Christmas being in the middle of the week, Reem, we figured that we're probably going to want to have a little bit of extra content for folks to maybe take a break through all of their Christmas festivities before we're back on the air on Friday. And I think we've got a nice little piece of WST under the tree for people this year.
Yeah, I'm really excited as what we've put together here on Christmas Eve. I don't know if we've ever done anything like this, putting out a bunch of pre-recorded interviews, not exactly time sensitive, so you can listen to it anytime throughout the week, or even next week as well during New Year's. So this is an exciting show, and very well done us putting this together.
Well, listen, it was a lot of fun doing it. Of course, we'll be back on the air on Friday at our regular time of 1 p.m. We'll have our final marble race of 2024. We'll get ready for the Jets and Senators. But today and over the holidays, we wanted to connect with some of our favorites. And certainly the man we all know as Bones is right up there. Rick Bowness joining us today on the program for a little holiday visit. And a guy that his voice is synonymous with Winnipeg Jets hockey and the holidays, doing so many years covering the World Juniors. Of course, that would be Dennis Beyak. And not to be missed out, our pal Brent Fitz, who plays with Slash and with Kiss and with Harlequin and with Toque, and also one of the biggest Jet fans outside of Winnipeg, always repping the team when he's in his new home of Vegas or wherever he's traveling. So we'll have a real fun conversation with Brent Fitz as well. So it is a little holiday gift from us to you on Winnipeg Sports Talk, our holiday special featuring Rick Bowness, Dennis Beyak, and Brent Fitz. And on behalf of myself and Michael Remus, thanks to everyone for the support throughout the year. We really appreciate it, and we hope you have a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful Hanukkah, or whatever you're celebrating at this time of the year. So we will look forward to seeing you on Friday at our regularly scheduled time of 1 p.m. In the meantime, have a wonderful holiday and enjoy Rick Bowness, Dennis Beyak, and Brent Fitz on this holiday special of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Well, it is an absolute pleasure for our holiday special here on Winnipeg Sports Talk to welcome back to the program the former head coach of the fan favorite here in Winnipeg, none other than Rick Bowness. Bones, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and thanks so much for jumping on with us here back in the Peg.
Well, thank you for having me on, and all the best to you during the holiday season and all the listeners. And we hope everyone has a happy, healthy, and just a tremendous holiday season.
Well, you know what? Right back to you, and I know fans will want to know, how are you? How's the family? How's Judy doing? Are you guys all in good shape and spirits heading into the holiday season?
Well, we are in good shape. We're fortunate enough to we own a home down here in Boca Raton, so we've been here since September. The big picture, we'll probably spend 7 months here and 5 months back in Halifax, which is home, and that's where our family home is. Judy's doing great, thanks. Fortunately we have great care here as well. We had great care in Winnipeg with the doctors there, led by Peter McDonald. That's incredible care, and we're getting in the same down here. We saw our neurologist last week, and she's pleased with how Judy's doing. They're going to keep her on the meds that she's on, and it's all systems a go right now for her. So things are good, and thank you for asking.
Well, that is great to hear. How are you enjoying semi-retirement, I guess? I mean, maybe retirement from coaching, but you still seem to have been busy.
Well, we're going to keep busy. I've retired from coaching. I haven't retired from life. I'm not a guy that can sit around. We like to have projects. We like to have something to look forward to. And I've always said this: when you get out of bed in the morning, man, you got to have a purpose. And so we're fortunate. We've got a great place down here. We're playing lots of golf, which is nice. But we are certainly keeping busy. As you know, I've done a couple of games at Sportsnet. We're doing another one tomorrow night. I'm going to start doing some TNT work here in the new year. So we'll keep our ugly mug out there enough to keep ourselves busy. But it's something I want to make a career of. Probably not, but it does give me something to do and keeps me busy and keeps my face out there.
Rick, I know with the side work you're doing and just being a hockey lifer, you're spending a lot of time watching the league. What have you thought about the Winnipeg Jets so far through this season? That historic start and still right there at the top of the Central Division.
Absolutely love it. I'm just love it. Listen, I love it for Chipper and the ownership of the team, and Chevy and his crew, and Scotty's done it, and his staff have done a phenomenal job. A lot, obviously, the players are just doing a fantastic job of competing every night, and it's great for the fans, the Winnipeg, the fans. It's great for the city. It's great for the province. We're getting so much recognition down here in the States, which is really hard to do. But I'm so very happy for everyone involved, but it's in particular with Chipper and the ownership group, man, and Chevy. They've done a great job building that franchise, and I'm so happy for everyone involved. But hey, this is great for the city and this is great for the province. I go to the golf course and people are talking to me about the Winnipeg Jets. Right, so that's a positive. When you're in Florida and the Winnipeg Jets are getting a lot of recognition, man, that's a very positive front. Again, Scotty and his staff, the players, give them a ton of credit. They deserve to be where they are.
You know, you mentioned Scott O'Neill. Of course, he was your associate head coach for the last couple of years, and then upon your retirement, took over the job. I mean, you know him very well. He's been a big part of it. But what have you thought about the way that he has sort of just kind of transitioned smoothly with a very similar group from last season to now taking over the reins?
It's very smart on his part. Again, if you look at the roster today, it's before we traded for Monahan last year and before we traded for Toffoli, that's the lines. And there's a great chemistry with them, and Scotty's keeping them together, and that's a great move. Now we lost Dylan, obviously, but Dylan Sandberg, until he went down, he was playing great hockey. Good to see Logan Stanley contributing like he has. So it's the same group. I don't know Fleury as well as the guys that are playing and coaching him now. He's the newest addition, but everyone else has been there, and there's great chemistry on that team. And in particular, those first 20 games, they were healthy. And when you're healthy in our league, you've got to win because you know you're going to run into a spell where you're going to have some injuries or you're going to be banged up a little bit and you're playing tired. Those things will catch up to you. But when it's early in the year and you have a healthy lineup like the Jets were, take full advantage of it. And they did. And they did a fantastic job, and very proud of that. So that start they had. And that gives you a little breathing room when you do get banged up a little bit and you do get fatigue during the regular season. Now, coaches that are currently working can't make those excuses. Well, I can because I'm not involved anymore, and I can tell the way it is. But again, they give them all a ton of credit, man. Again, they are where they deserve to be, and they're going to stay there. And they've got good players, and just as important, they've got really, really good people. They got great leadership in that room. They care a tremendous amount about each other. They play hard for each other, and that's where it all starts. If you don't have that culture and you don't have that chemistry, you do not have the success on the ice, regardless of your skill level. The leadership group in that team, led by Mo and Scheif and Adam, Casey. Listen, he's a quiet leader, and Dylan DeMello. These guys all chip in, and the leaders. They've all got something to say in that room. But you don't have success in our league, regardless of your skill level, without the chemistry and the culture that team has right now.
Rick, I know you still watch a ton of hockey for the gigs on Hockey Night in Canada and TNT. Do you watch the Jets in a different way than you do the other teams in the National Hockey League, considering you just finished being their head coach?
I know what I'm looking for. And I do. I watch them a lot closer. Like, if there's 5 games on and the Jets aren't playing, I'm flipping around. I'm watching all the games. As soon as there's a commercial, I'm flipping channels. So I'm not dissecting the other games at all like I normally would, especially if we're going to play an opponent in the next week or so. So I've been watching the games because that's my life, and Judy and I sit here at night, we're watching hockey in Florida. But that's been our life, and that's the life we know, and that's the life we love. Do I watch the Jets a little closer? Yeah, because I know what I'm looking for, right? So it's a little easier.
You had a Vezina Trophy winning goaltender in Connor Hellebuck last year. He's doing the same things. Is it different watching Helly from the television as opposed to behind the bench? And just thoughts on the legacy that he continues to create here in Winnipeg and in the league.
Well, listen, we talked about this a little while ago about when you're healthy and when you're banged up and when you're tired of injury. When you sit in that locker room every night and you're a player, let's say you've got the flu, you're not feeling well, you have bad shoulder, bad legs, you don't feel it. You look across the room and you say Connor Hellebuck sitting there, you know you have a great chance to win the game, regardless how you feel. You look around the room, okay, he's tired, he's playing hurt, he's banged up, but then you see Bucky sitting there, and you say, it doesn't matter. We have a great chance to win. This guy's phenomenal. The high level that he plays at and the consistency of what he plays at that high level is just incredible. And yes, he deserves, at this point, certainly deserves the Vezina again. He certainly earned it last year. But in our league today, and it's a tough, as we all know, we've said this so many, tough league to win in. It's a competitive league. You need elite goaltending. You want to have success in our league today? You start with your goaltender. If you have average goaltending means inconsistent goaltending. Inconsistent goaltending means you're going to be scrambling for your life for the playoffs. You need elite goaltending, and Connor Hellebuck gives the Jets that every night. And the top teams in the league, you look at their goaltending, they're elite goaltending, or they're elite defensively, and they protect the goalie. But you got to have it. And again, when you're sitting in that room as a player and you walk in that room as a coach and you see Bucky sitting there, man, it's a pretty good feeling.
Rick, you mentioned the playoffs, and obviously the team's season ultimately will be defined by the playoffs. Considering the first round exits in the last couple of years, when you look at this team, what do you think the goal will be going down the stretch and into the playoffs to try to give the Jets a better chance, albeit against a great opponent? I mean, no matter who you make it and where you are in the West, you're going to be up in a very formidable challenge. But when you look at this team, I mean, what do you think the next step is for this team, and what will be the keys to be able to have a better fare in the postseason?
Listen, it's hard for people to understand. You learn from losing, and you do. And I know the players came back to camp this year determined that wasn't going to happen again. I'll go back to the Tampa Bay Lightning. The first year they won the Cup. They had that great year 2 years prior to that. They got swept in the playoffs by Columbus, and everyone remembers that. They learned so much from that. They went out and they changed the way they changed half their personnel, which Winnipeg doesn't have to do because they've got the personnel, and they changed a little bit about the way they played. But they learned so much from losing that series, and they didn't fire their coach. They just said, okay, we got to make a couple of adjustments here, and they ended up winning back-to-back Stanley Cups. The Winnipeg Jet players took great pride in our season last year. They were all hurt badly by that playoff exit, and it hurt all of us. But they will learn. They will be stronger going into this year's the playoffs because of that. Now, the year before in Vegas, listen, we got beat by a much better team. They went on to win the Stanley Cup. They were a great hockey club. So okay, and did we play well? No, we didn't. So you learn from that. But you got to keep pushing, and they're going to keep pushing each other. But I do know they went into this year absolutely determined we're going to have a great regular season, and it's not going to end there. We're going to have a very strong playoffs. We are going to learn from the mistakes that we've made in the past.
Rick Bowness with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Bones, what do you miss most about the grind of being an NHL head coach?
Everything. I miss it all. I didn't mind the grind, and that's why I did it for so long. That never bothered me. I know, and I knew when I made that decision. You do something for 49 years as a player and a coach. It's your whole life. Your whole life's been committed to the game. But I also knew in the back of my mind, okay, maybe it's time to step back from the coaching. So I made that decision. So that decision that I made, and I walked away on my terms, that makes it a little easier to live with, without a doubt. If someone else is showing me the door, then I'd have some angst and I'd have some anger. But this is my decision. I walked away on my terms. I knew it was time, so that makes it a lot easier. But do I miss it? Absolutely. But I knew when I made that decision, we're going to miss it. I was going to miss it. And listen, I kept telling Judy, when I retire, you're going to miss it more than I do, and she does. Because she loved the games. She loved hanging out with getting to know the players' wives and giving them some help when she could. So Judy misses it just as much as I do. But it's been our life for forever. And we knew at the time, okay, we're really going to miss this, but it is time.
Rick, is there any part of the job that you're relieved not to have to do anymore?
Dealing with you guys.
You seem to love that.
Those are challenges. No, there's not. Honestly, there's not. You don't like going into, one thing about an NHL coach, you walk to the rink every day. Okay, so be ready. Something's going to happen today that you're not ready for. Somebody's going to show up sick. Someone's going to show up injured. Someone's going to show up with a complaint. Someone's not happy with their ice time. Every day in the National Hockey League as a coach, you got to deal with something new. So you know what to expect going into every day, but you also have to be prepared to deal with the unexpected. And I kind of miss those challenges. But no, there's nothing really. I enjoyed the media. That's all part of the job. We all have a job to do. We all have to work together to make it work. And I'm dealing with the media is certainly a big part of it. You guys have your jobs to do. We have to work with you to make it as easy for your job as possible. But no, there's nothing, no, I miss it all. So we'll leave it at that.
Well, listen, I know you were joking, but there is some irony because you have crossed the floor and are now part of the media in some ways. How have you enjoyed the analyst gigs with Hockey Night in Canada and now TNT?
Yeah, no, they were good. They were going back in there tomorrow night, and I enjoy it because, listen, I've known Ron McLean forever, right? Kevin Beyak was like a third son to us, so that's a very comfortable setting for me. I played against Kelly Rudy for 100 years, and I know him. I know Kelly really well. So when you walk into that setting and you're familiar with the people, and I'm a coach. I'm not a TV guy, right? Like they're TV personnel, they get it. I'm just a coach going in there to throw my 2 cents worth in, and so, but it certainly helps having the crew that I'm working with there, and behind the scenes you got great people organized, and they help you a lot. And again, they know, listen, I'm a coach. I'm new to this, and I'm going to talk like a coach, and let them do all the TV stuff, and I'll just do my thing.
Is there? I mean, do you kind of go into that job still thinking as a coach, or is there something different from being, what you used to do to being an analyst on television?
Well, what I find I have to be careful. As a coach, you have to be very detailed. And I think I got it what I have to watch myself. And I was just talking to Brian Spear, the producer for tomorrow. Don't let me get too detailed because I'll lose people, right? And there's a danger of that. So I do think it as a coach. And I look at every little detail. And we're showing these clips, and sometimes we're kind of rushing through it and everything, trying to make the points. But I'm a detail guy, and I've got to watch myself on that because it's not my show. It's everyone's show. And everyone has to have their input on it. And I can't get too detailed. So I do have to watch that as a coach, not to get overly detailed, because if you do, you're probably going to lose half the people because they can't follow what I see. And it's funny because every time they show me these clips, I'm finding something different. And that's what you do as a coach. You're looking at, that's why it takes so long to break down video. You can look at the same clip 4 times and you can find 4 different things, and you'll always find something different. And look at that, or look at that, make that point. So I've got to be careful of that and respect that people aren't going to see what I see.
Is it difficult not to completely bury guys on national television when you see them do things that would make give the coaches ire?
No, I don't look at it as burying it. I mean, people, it's like the Winnipeg Jet fans. They're knowledgeable people. You're not going to pull the wool over their eyes. You want to go out there and start talking in circles and not addressing the issue. That's not what they want to hear. And that's why I always dealt with the Jet fans. I always have tremendous respect for their knowledge and their passion of the game. And you can't pull the wool over them. So don't try. Just be honest and tell them what you see. So, and I'm not trying to rip anybody. If someone asks me my opinion, I'm going to give them, this is what I see. And maybe the guy's not making a mistake. Maybe that he's doing exactly what the coach told him to do. But we don't know those things behind the scenes. And that's fine. But if someone is going to say, okay, what do you see? This is what I see. I'm not trying to rip anybody, but I'm going to tell them what I see. And if it disagrees with, that's fine too. That's all part of it.
Rick, you've done both Hockey Night in Canada and TNT broadcasts. This is a little pulling the curtain back, but how similar or different is your operation when you're going to Canada and do a Canadian broadcast as opposed to what the TNT operation is?
Well, they do a great job. They're very professional, and they do a wonderful job every night. So it's very similar now. I'm getting to know Hank Lundqvist. He was on and this and that. I don't know those guys as well, but it's the same thing. Go in there and say talk about what you see. And whether everybody agrees or disagrees, that's not the point. They brought me in there. If I have an opinion, I'm going to share it. And whether they like it or they don't like it, well, we'll find out if they don't bring me back.
Well, you can certainly you just come loaded with a few jokes about Biz going 1-on-6 with a bunch of Irish travelers. That seems to be getting a lot of mileage every time they fire it up. And what a character he is. Let me ask you this. I'm really interested to know about kind of the behind the scenes. Just for you, a day that you're going to be doing a TNT broadcast at night. What's the day like for you? I mean, are you going to skate in the morning? Do you guys have meetings? How long is it? And then how does the actual evening go? And
the last time I've done it, so they had a phone call on Monday, and the game was Wednesday. The broadcast is out of Atlanta, so there's no teams around. They're not, I when I found out who we were dealing with, and I contacted a couple of the coaches who I know just to get some input from them, and that certainly helps. It was LA and Vegas, and I coached with Newell Brown in LA, and I coached with John Stevens, who's in Vegas. So you get a hold of them, and they kind of give you some, again, because I'm not following their teams closely, and what do I need to know, and that helps. And then you have that meeting on Monday. Then you get to the rink or the studio on Wednesday night, and you sit there and you go over things you want to talk about. And everyone has an input. Everyone has to, they all want their airtime. And again, they're the TV guys. I'm the coach, so it's their show. I'll just fill in where I can, and that's really all it is.
Rick, of course, your son Ryan is in management with the Ottawa Senators. The Sens have been one of those teams for the last couple of years. They've seemingly been on the cusp. Buffalo, Detroit, like trying to make that next step in. They're on a real run right now. Amazing what a hot goalie and an experienced goalie can do for you. But what do you make of Ottawa right now? And are they on the verge of taking that step that I think all of their fans has been waiting for the last couple seasons?
Well, they are, and they're fighting. They're just playing great right now. And again, it goes back to Allmark. It does. Like their goaltending over the last couple of years has been inconsistent. So your whole play is inconsistent. Now they're getting great goaltending, and from Forsberg as well when he's in there. So it starts there, and that just breeds so much confidence in the players. You're sitting there in the locker room. You're looking at your goalie. Is he going to give us a chance to win tonight? And the answer is absolutely. And so that gives you so much confidence going the game. The game, again, the league is too close, too many good teams. You're not going to go out there and control the game for 60 minutes. You're just not. You hope you will, and there's games that you will do, but there's other team trying to win out there as well, and they're good players, and they're just as hungry. So when those things are going on and things aren't going your way, you rely on your goaltender. He's giving them that. The goalie's job is to give your team a chance to win every night, and that's what's happening in Ottawa. That's the kind of goaltending they're getting. They've always had the young players. They need time. It's not like you flick a switch and okay, we're taking it to the next level. You got to learn along the way. It's what we were talking about a little while ago. And some of those young players, man, they're really, really good players. And you look at Tkachuk, and he's hungry as hell to make the playoffs. He's never played in a playoff game. Those things motivate your team. And when you believe you can win because your goaltending is going to give you that opportunity, and you look around your room and say, we've got a good team here. That Jensen kid they picked up from Washington is doing a great job for them. So they made some really good moves in the offseason. But again, you're losing over the years. You learn from that. Either you don't learn. If you don't learn from that, you're going backwards. They're going to keep getting better. They're going to keep getting stronger. I really like what they've done there, and I really like the way they're playing. Travis Green has done a wonderful job. Good to see Bomber in there doing a great job with the D. So they've got an experienced coaching staff with Mike Yo in there and Alfie behind the bench. So they're all doing a great job. Couldn't be happier for them.
Well, and listen, it's great for fans there in the nation's capital because it has been a little while. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that turnaround's happening in Buffalo. And speaking of great fans, I mean, the way that area, you see it with the Bills right now that the Bills are competitive and how well that they are supported. And I mean, Lindy Ruff, he's been in the game for a long time. He said last week, this is the toughest fix that he's ever seen. There's a lot of talent on that club. What do you make of just how miserable this season and the turn that it's taken for Buffalo right now heading into the holidays?
Yes, listen, I've been there in early days in Ottawa. We weren't very good, man. we went on some bad losing streaks. But that's a tough one, man. Unless you're in that room and you really don't know what's going on. They have enough talent to win. There's no question. Is the goaltending been consistent enough? The effort been consistent enough? Is the compete been good enough? Is the chemistry, the culture, all those things come into play when you're looking at what they're going through now. Unless you're in that room, you don't know. And I'm sure Lindy's a great coach. He's been around a long time. He knows if this is the toughest thing he's ever had to deal with, you can tell you that tells you what you need to know what they're up against, and they'll pull out of it because because of their talent level, and they may go on to, who knows, maybe they're going to go win 9 out of 10 or something like that. But right now, you get in those situations. You walk in that room and it's tough. It's tough to keep a good, positive attitude. I just remember in Ottawa when weren't very good, and I really wasn't that great a coach at that point. I tell my coaching staff, Alain Vigneault and EJ McGuire, okay, no matter what, we've got to come up with something positive every day. We might have lost 8 in a row, might not have touched the puck the last couple of games, but we got to find something positive every day. Because once you lose that, man, you really lose your players, because they don't want to. It's bad enough when they're losing and they're getting it from their family and the fans and the media. They don't want to walk into that locker room and be pounded again. So I'm sure they're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to make that as a positive as culture as they can. But the only thing that's going to make that better is 2 points.
You know, Rick, one other, maybe the most puzzling situation in the entire league has to be the Nashville Predators. I mean, we crowned them the offseason champions. We raised the banner. They got Steven Stamkos and Marchessault. Is that just a case of it taking a longer to click with new players, or is there anything more surprising to you this year than just how much the Preds have struggled, considering the talent that they've got and what they added?
Yeah, that's a surprise. Buffalo's a surprise. Rangers are a surprise. So it happens every year. Things happen, but yeah, it does take time to build that chemistry, and you see it on the ice. If you're not used to playing with somebody, you're going one way, and he's thinking you're going the other way, and all of a sudden plays are disrupted. So that chemistry is not something that you develop overnight. It's not, and you hope it does. But it doesn't, and most times it doesn't. But they've got the players. I watched the game last night for most part with Pittsburgh, because I'm good friends with Sid, so I'm kind of watching them, hoping Pittsburgh gets back into it. But yeah, it's hard to explain. Again, unless you're in that room, unless you're watching them every day in practice, unless you're watching every game intently and breaking everything down to see, okay, what exactly is it wrong? Most times it is that chemistry. It's just not quite where you need to be to win and consistently in this league. But again, it's a tough league, and everyone's going into the Nationals saying, wow, they got a really good team here. And they're getting the A game from everybody right off the bat, because they're looking at a pre-scout. They're looking at names on the board, Marchessault, Stamkos, Saros in there, Yossi, like Forsberg, a lot of good players. So that gets their attention going in when you're playing Nashville. So that works against them as they're trying to build this chemistry. They're also getting the A effort from every other team. So hopefully they can turn it around. You love Trotzy, and you love the effort he made in the summer, and you hope for his sake they can get it going.
Well, and listen, they are in a tough neighborhood. I did want to ask you just, thoughts on the Central Division. You know it well. Jets are there. Minnesota's had a great start. Dallas and Colorado are going to be there. It's not an easy division to live in for 82 games in the regular season.
No, it's not. And again, everyone's geared up. Those 4-point games in the division, you're going to get their best game. And this is a great division, and it is. And it's probably the toughest in terms of depth. Look at Utah making a big move now, right? Chicago's won 3 in a row. So listen, their hands are where you are at this time of the year, where you are in the standings, and you're that far out of the playoffs. It's a tough grind. Now, every year there's an outlier. They were that outlier team last year when they went on a run and they got back into it. So hopefully that'll happen for them this year.
Rick Bowness has been our guest. Rick, before we go, and again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll be getting gifts over these next couple days. In February, hockey fans are finally getting a long overdue gift, the Four Nations Cup. How excited are you to see some actual best on best for the first time in a long time? And just thoughts on what that experience will do for Josh Morrissey, Connor Hellebuck, and Kyle Connor, who will be representing the Winnipeg Jets for their respective countries.
And I was so disappointed when Mark wasn't put on that team. I really was. I mean, he's the best player, a best forward on the best team in the league, and he's not there. Anyways, they pick their team, and you hope they win for Canada. But listen, this is what everybody involved in the game wants to see, the best on the best. I always said you really want to make that determination who's the best. You do it in September when when everyone's healthy and you have a training camp and you give them an opportunity to and practice together, throw in some systems, get some chemistry built. Then you have a really good idea. Now you're taking 4 teams, you're bringing a bunch of players from all over the league. You're giving them okay, here's a couple of days. Now let's get ready to play the best. So it's best on best. It's skill on skill. And hopefully Canada's going to come out on top. They certainly have the players to do it. But it's going to be fantastic for all the players that you mentioned. Every one of those players coming out of that for the Jets will be better players. They're going to help the Winnipeg Jets take that next step, especially in the playoffs.
Rick, it has been a real treat and a gift to all of us here in Winnipeg to be able to catch up again. Thank you so much for doing this, and have a wonderful holiday season with the family, and all the best in 2025. Hopefully we can catch up sometime next year.
We'll be around, and all the best to everyone. Merry Christmas to all.
Continuing our Winnipeg Sports Talk holiday special, what an absolute pleasure it is to welcome in our good friend and longtime voice of the Winnipeg Jets, Dennis Beyak. Dennis, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and great to talk to you, my friend. How are you?
And right back at you and all your viewers and listeners. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and everything else. I'm doing very well and enjoying retirement and still watching the NHL as much as I can and keeping busy. But all's good.
I want to get to more about the holidays, and obviously your incredible time doing the World Juniors. But what a start overall for the Jets. I mean, a historic 15-1. Obviously, that wasn't going to continue. But for Scott Arniel in his first year as the official head coach, it has been a real nice run overall for the Winnipeg Jets, kind of right back to the opening game of the season. How have you enjoyed watching the team that you spent so many years calling?
Well, you know what I enjoy? I enjoy some of the little things inside the game. I mean, the progress of Dylan Sandberg, the year that he's had. It was nice to see Eric Comrie come back and be part of the team again. Nice to see the power play doing what it's doing. I mean, we always talk about power plays having options, and they use their options that they have on the power play, and just the success that they're having. I mean, I'm really happy for everyone there, Mark Chipman and Kevin Shoveldayoff and everybody in the organization. Things are much more fun when the team is winning, and they certainly got off to a good start, and they've continued it. So really good to see, but really happy for Scott Arniel as well. I know there was lots of people who wondered what kind of a job he would do as a head coach with the Winnipeg Jets. He had some coaching experience in some other NHL cities, so really happy with the success. And again, you know, so much of the head coaching job now is how you handle media and your press conferences and all that. And he does a good job at that.
You know, Dennis, one thing that hasn't changed since when you were behind the mic is that number 37 is still bringing it every night. I mean, what a run Connor Hellebuck's been on. Already 2 Vezina trophies. I would say clearly the favorite to add a third to it. He has really turned into not just a superstar for the Winnipeg Jets, but a guy that is going to go down in Winnipeg sports history, certainly, and one that is, putting himself into the conversation for one of the best of this era, and I would say on a fast track to the Hall of Fame at some point as well.
Well, you're better to talk about this probably than I am, but I think sports organizations now need one stud, whether it's goaltending in hockey, whether it's a quarterback in football, whether it's a pitcher in baseball. But in hockey, especially, when you know that if things aren't going very good, your goaltender can go out and flat out steal you a game. Maybe a game you didn't deserve to win, or things are going not very well for you. And you need your goaltender to step up and be that guy. And in that old adage, your best penalty killer is your goaltender. And that's certainly the case with Connor Hellebuck. So, you know what? It's a real interesting story. With him going all the way back to when they scouted him and his path to the National Hockey League. But he certainly has been off to a terrific start and having another terrific year. And we'll see what he does at the Four Nations Cup. I think that was big for him to have a real solid year. And I know that was important for him to be part of that tournament, and which he will be. And if he keeps going the way he is, he'll certainly be the starter, I would think, for Team USA.
Well, and of course, Kyle Connor's having another brilliant season. I think has really rounded out and added more to his game, which has been a big part of the Jets' success. They'll both be representing the United States. Canada is going to feature Josh Morrissey on the blue line. And, Dennis, I mean, you were here from Josh playing his first game in the National Hockey League to where he is right now. How are you enjoying just watching what Josh has turned into? And I mean, maybe speak to just the development path and the growth of Josh from coming in and grabbing a spot in his first opportunity to now one of the best defensemen in the league.
Well, number one, such a good person. I think that's what jumps out at you right off the bat. And got around. He had the opportunity to be around Toby Enstrom and Dustin Byfuglien and some of the defensemen who have gone through the Winnipeg Jets organization. But after all the games that I've seen Josh Morrissey play, to still sit here and watch him and go, wow. I mean, his skating just keeps getting better and better. His confidence just keeps getting better and better. Really liked, we talked about the power play a couple minutes ago, really like to see him shoot the puck as he does. That gives him another option, opens up things in other areas of the ice. So his progression has been really, really good. Happy for him, and certainly an elite defenseman in the National Hockey League. For a guy that's not 6'4" or 6'5", and the day in, day out rigors of being a big time minute eater in the National Hockey League as a defenseman, he handles it very, very well.
Hey, what do you think this does for Josh moving forward to have this experience that's going to be coming up in February? Certainly he'll look to be a part of the Olympics, which is going to be even on another level. But best on best, the honor of being there and to play in a dressing room where you're going to have Cale Makar on the blue line and Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. It seems like Josh has really arrived, or at least people around the league are now recognizing it.
I mean, the way teams are set up now, and this is certainly no disrespect to Dylan DeMello, who's been a real good partner with Josh Morrissey, but Josh Morrissey's one of those guys you always wondered if they ever found a right-handed premier defenseman to play with him. And maybe it would benefit his game, maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. So that's what he's going to get the opportunity to do. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that walks into that dressing room a little bit looking around, maybe a little bit wide-eyed. But once he goes on the ice, all that'll be for in the past, and he's going to play his game. But he's going to get himself surrounded with the superstars that you mentioned. And I think Josh Morrissey is one of those guys that will be a sponge and try and pick up as much as he can from those guys that you mentioned.
Well, Dennis, I can tell you that it's been, I think a lot of people were wondering what this Jets team would look like. Obviously, the pain of that playoff loss last year to Colorado was still sort of there. And, it's sort of the background of everything the team does. You'll sort of be measured in the playoffs. But it has been a great start. You're seeing some growth in the club. And what I think is really interesting, certainly it dominates a lot of conversation on this show and amongst fans at bar tops around the city, is how this team might look different in a couple of months. And, I know you've always said this before. I mean, Kevin Cheveldayoff's been clear that the team will let you know how aggressive, you should be when it comes to giving yourself the best chance to win a Stanley Cup. And I would say based on the playoff lack of success the last two seasons, the regular season they've had so far, what the team has right now, one of the most interesting times leading into a trade deadline, and even before then, for Kevin Cheveldayoff, based on everything surrounding this hockey club that's had such a nice start to the year and is in a great spot heading into the Christmas break.
So then the big question becomes, who's available? You can throw names around all you want and say they need this, they need that. Every team's looking for a right-handed defenseman who can play 25 minutes a game. But who's available? And not even to the point yet of what do you have to give up to get what you want. There has to be somebody out there that you want. And teams just aren't going to give away good hockey players. So, but every year there are teams that don't have the success that they want. I mean, it's certainly been a disastrous start for the New York Rangers, to the point where they end up moving Trouba and everything else. And but back to the trade market. That's what it always is. It's what's available. Then you got to try and piece together what's it going to take to get that player. And the Jets, like every organization, they've identified this is a position we'd like to fill, and then you identify a player that might be available that would fill that position. Now, does that player become available? Those are all the question marks that are going to happen from early January all the way into the trade deadline. And they're going to be aggressive because they have a very good team. And there's that old saying, you owe it to the players that to try and improve the hockey club as best you can. So then they have to figure out. I mean, the second line maybe has been better than they thought it was going to be. I'm really happy to see Nikolai Ehlers having the year that he's having. Unfortunately, he went through that injury there before Christmas, which was too bad for him. But do they need do they need somebody on the second line? Do they need another defenseman? And again, most of that will be dictated by what's out there. Who can you pry from another team, and then just kind of go from there. But I do believe they'll attempt to be as active as they possibly can, for sure.
Well, and the other funny thing is that, with that, I mean, you got to give to get. And with all these, dreams of bringing big and talent to come in, there's also the other side of that and, what has to go out to it. And it will be an intriguing few months. Dennis, I want to ask you just, for a guy that, has lived in the hockey business for so long, now you got some time to be on the cruise and do some traveling. You're still paying close attention to the team on a daily basis. What do you miss most about the day-to-day grind of the old gig?
I miss sitting at practice and talking about hockey with the guys. And whether it be Kevin Sawyer, whether it be Ken Wee, Tim Campbell before he retired, and all the other, guys that were at the rink every day. And, Paul Edmonds, Brian Munns, and everybody else. We'd sit at practice, we'd talk about practice, or we'd talk about what happened in the National Hockey League the night before. And then that's probably what I miss most. I don't miss the travel. I don't miss the workload. I'm a bit of a realist. It was time to move on and do other things, and I did. And I have zero regrets about retiring. But that's the part. I miss the people I work with. Fortunately, and I try not to bug them too much, but they haven't forgot about me, which is kind of nice. I mean, I still hear from Kevin Pratt, our producer for TSN, on a fairly regular basis. Kevin Sawyer and I, communicate a lot, and we still touch base. And we don't really talk hockey a lot of times. We just talk about everything else that surrounds the game. But I think just sitting and talking about the game is probably what I miss. But no regrets.
Well, listen, you're definitely missed, and this is what makes it such a treat for us and all of our listeners to have you back on the program right now. Dennis Beyak's with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk and a little holiday special. Dennis, speaking of the holidays, in addition to being the workhorse behind the mic for all those seasons for the Winnipeg Jets, you are also usually right around now packing your bag, if you haven't already, getting ready to go to the World Juniors. I think in a normal season, so you'd be playing that final Winnipeg Jet game that you may or may not be here for. What was, just before you even talk about the actual action on the ice, when you think back to those couple weeks around the World Juniors every year, how much of a whirlwind was it for you between finishing up the NHL job, getting ready, and then traveling wherever you were going, often to the other side of the world for the tournament?
Well, first off, this will be my first Christmas at home since 2013. So there's the biggest change right there, and looking forward to it very much. December 1st was usually, depending on if the Jets were on a road trip or whatever, it got delayed by a few days, but December 1st was usually my day to start putting stuff together for the World Junior. Now, I was a pack rat. I mean, I kept statistics from the year before, and I kept notes from the years before. So a lot of times it was just a matter of up. Now, it wasn't as easy as the World Championship, where a lot of the same players were back every year. Junior, that you're there for a couple of years or 3 years and you move on. But I tried to make my prep as easy as I possibly could by keeping files, and you start going through them. But December 1st was usually when you started trying to find training camps that teams were going through. I was always on the other side. I never had to worry about Canada. So that was always Gord Miller's, and still is. That was his challenge. So I was always on the other side, and some countries were very easy to deal with. The U.S. was always really easy. They were very quick to get information out. They're willing to share information. And then you had your other teams. You had the Slovakia, and you had Czechia a little bit, although they've gotten better over the last few years. You'd find a lineup, their last pre-tournament game and you'd find the lineup and you'd figure, boy, this is really good. I can get my roster going. And then the roster comes out 6 o'clock Christmas Day, and then the first games are on Boxing Day, and you get the roster, and it's not even close. It's not even close. So the last number of years, you just learned to do things. I traveled with a printer. It was just easier. Set it up in your room, and you can change your lineups as you go along, and that. But you know what? It was a lot of work. Loved every minute of it. It was a great opportunity to see a lot of really good young players. The 2016 World Junior in Finland, the Patrick Laine World Junior. Finland had a terrific team. That'll still be maybe one of the most exciting junior teams that that I had the opportunity to call games. And it was a great tournament. Always is, always will be. It was great to see a lot of people that you don't see during the year. You got it. The TSN family was just a great bunch of people to be around. And that's why when I retired last year in Sweden, that was one of the benefits. And that's why that one. Now, I was supposed to be in Russia initially. You were supposed to be in Novosibirsk, way up north. And then when everything got changed, it was in Sweden. And the good thing was in Gothenburg, we were all together in the same hotel. There was 2 rinks there. We were all together in the same hotel. So it was a good year to have my final World Junior run.
Hey, speaking of getting together with the TSN crew, we need to get you back to the Peg next November for the Grey Cup. Of course, it's a huge TSN event. They'll all be out here, and even we'll hopefully watch a little bit of hockey with the Jets and maybe get you out there for that. Hey, speaking, I'm interested when you talk about the amount of prep that goes into a tournament like this. How long did you spend on the pronunciations for like the Kazakhs or the Latvians, of guys that we probably never heard of before, that often have, let's just say, plenty of consonants in those names?
Well, okay. You're a pretty good sports fan, and so is Michael, your partner there. So if I was doing a Kazakhstan game and I said Yurkovich instead of Yeskovich, are you really going to know the difference?
No, the answer to that is no.
There you go. So let's start there. You know what? I always tried to be as accurate as I possibly could. When you go to that tournament, my rule of thumb was start with the guys who are in the National Hockey League. And the names that the fans know, start with them. And then we did 8 games by the first weekend, but the time was done. We had 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. I'm talking about the World Championship now. And so you were into it big time right off the hop. But start with the NHL guys or the guys that have been there from previous years that fans know, and then just kind of work it from there. But I think like all play-by-play guys, I think we pride ourselves in trying to be as accurate with the pronunciations and accurate with who's got the puck and who's doing what as best we can. Do we have mess-ups? Absolutely, we do. And the same for the World Junior. Sometimes it was easier at the World Championship level because, as I mentioned before, you do see those players year after year after year after year. The juniors, you don't see that because of a turnover. So, but there's, there's always, and you got to, here's where it got dicey. If you ask the team to give you a pronunciation guide, it was nowhere near what you thought those names were going to be. And even some of the Swedish names. So now you get a pronunciation of a player who's playing in the National Hockey League, and it's nowhere near. If I said that name on the air, people that watch the National Hockey League would say, "Who the heck is he talking about?" So you can't just go to a team and say, "Give us all the pronunciations," because that doesn't work either. So you have to try and do as best you can, and most you get right, and some you don't, and you just kind of move on. I remember Michael Jordan, who played the National Hockey League for a while, was actually Michael Jordan. We found this about halfway through the first tournament, that it wasn't Michael Jordan the way it looked. It was Michael Jordan. And then you've got the ones who in the National Hockey League will go by one name. They go back to Europe and they'll go by a different name. And so, but you try and find a balance and make the best of it.
You got to know the audience and take your chances with that. Dennis, You mentioned the World Championships and the World Juniors, and you've done so many international games. Gotta ask you, what were one or two of the? I mean, obviously Canada and when the events are here in Canada, they're a big deal. But outside of Canada, where were your favorite tournaments that you remember? The best atmospheres, and both places to go for broadcasters and fans. I mean, is there a place or two that sort of sticks out of your travels that you hold in high esteem?
Well, I've always enjoyed Finland. Really, I find the Finnish people very friendly, very easy to get along with. Helsinki was a great city. Didn't spend a whole lot of time there. Sometimes we're in a smaller city around Finland. But those were, the one that maybe stands out and was a bit of a surprise, and I know things have changed since then, was the World Championship in Belarus, because we went there with the understanding that they were very close with Russia, and certainly things have changed immensely since that time. But we were told right off the hop, just be with the understanding here that your phone may be tapped. There may be people listening to what you're saying. And yet, it was a terrific 3 weeks. The weather was great. We walked to and from the rink. The people were as friendly as they possibly could be. Maybe that's the big change over the years, is how English is now more spoken than what it was back then. But you know what? I enjoyed all of them. I guess I don't know if I guess certainly Ostrava, I think, stands out for me. Trinic, which is just outside of Ostrava, we did a World Junior there, but we did a couple of World Championships in Ostrava, Czechia. I think that really, we had a great location. We were right in the town square. The rink wasn't far away. The hotel looked after us very well. So I guess if I had to pick one, that would probably be it. The Buffalo one, I remember that one. It was so cold, poorly attended. So that's one that would be on the other side of the scale, that you went there with some expectations and it never happened. But I love the European countries. And there's still some that aren't hockey countries that I need to get to. And that's going to happen in the next 12, 16 months. British Isles cruise to England and Ireland, Scotland, Norway, and that. But I love the European travel. I love the European countries. We were in Moscow 3 times, and again, that's all changed now. The subways in Moscow that were used as bomb shelters that are basically straight down, and it's about a 90-second ride to get to the subway. All those little things stand out, but it's all, Huss, it's all about the people. You know that. It's all about the people you meet and the friendships you make, the contacts that you gather along the way, the people that you stay in touch with. And I still stay in touch with a number of people in Winnipeg. That's so many good people there. And it was all great. Like I said, no regrets.
You mentioned the people, and I would say probably more so for the World Championships than the World Juniors, although it continues to grow in Europe. The fans of the World Championships really make that. And listen, the fans, period. You could play any of these games. If you're doing an empty rink, it certainly doesn't have the buzz.
Okay, it really does. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was remiss in not mentioning Latvia.
Well, that's where I wanted to go. They're crazy, aren't they?
I enjoyed Riga, and I don't know two things. I'm not sure anybody drinks more than the Finns, and I'm not sure there's better hockey fans out there than the Latvians. They love their team. Doesn't matter where the tournament is. There will be a contingent there that will be loud and proud and everything else. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I was remiss in all my Latvian fans and friends will be disappointed. The other one, you know what? And Nikolai Ehlers was part of that one. Denmark's first ever win at the World Junior Championship in Toronto. That's another one that certainly stands out there and as a special game.
Well, and Nikolai now, the highest scoring Dane in NHL history as well. Yeah, and of course, he's done it all as a Winnipeg Jet. It's been great. Dennis, before we go, and again, it's so great to have you on anytime, but especially at the holidays. You mentioned this is your first Christmas at home in over a decade. what's on tap for Christmas through New Year's for you now that you've got this time and a little bit of freedom?
Like, you mean tap as in brewery tap, or just both? No, you know what? It's going to be just some friends over. We're getting ready to head to Argentina, early in 2025. But with just getting back from a trip and another one coming, we contemplated going to Calgary. I've got nieces there and relatives there. We looked at doing that. I looked at coming back to Winnipeg. I've got a niece and her husband and two great nephews there. I've got some other relatives in Winnipeg, so we certainly consider that as well. But I think this one will just be a little bit quiet, and it's in between trips, so don't want to get caught somewhere where you can't get back to where you need to be. But it'll be enjoyable. We've got Bev and I here, and then we got some friends coming over and some other people in our condo development here that are very good friends. So we'll have some Christmas cheer and bring in the new year and then look forward to 2025.
Well, listen, Happy New Year to you and Bev, and a great Merry Christmas. And listen, have a good time. I've just pulled up my world clock, and I'm just looking. Buenos Aires, 3 hours ahead from Winnipeg. So if you are watching the games live, you're going to need to work in an afternoon nap and get ready for it's kind of like a West Coast game every night when you're following the Jets from South America.
Well, and unlike the cruise that we were just on, where you don't have access to real good internet to watch games, and that we will be in a situation in Buenos Aires where I will be watching the Winnipeg Jets. So looking forward to that, and just you know what, when I retired, I wanted to do some traveling, and we're doing that, and dragging Bev along with me, and that. But yeah, to everyone in everyone in Winnipeg and everyone that watches and listens. Just have a terrific Christmas and all the best, and Happy New Year, and look forward to a second half of the Winnipeg Jets that's similar to the first half, and see where it takes them.
Well, listen, Dennis, it's always a pleasure to catch up. I hope you and Bev have a great holiday, and then of course a great trip down to Argentina. And for 2020
for me.
For 2025, we'll be crying, but we'll be calling you because hopefully when you get back and we get closer to the playoffs, we can maybe get your thoughts on the second half of the season and look ahead to the playoffs. It's always a treat for Jet fans when we can get you on and talk a little hockey.
And to you and Michael, keep up the great work. You've got a good thing going for the sports fans of Winnipeg there.
Dennis, we appreciate you, man. Have a great one, and thanks again for doing this.
Take care, bud.
All right, it's not the holiday season on Winnipeg Sports Talk without a visit from our good friend and one of the most popular / notorious Winnipeg Jet fans, musician extraordinaire, friend of the program, Brent Fitz joins us now. Fitzy, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and welcome back to the program. How are you?
Great to see you guys. Happy holidays. Yes, it's been a while. Good to be back on the program.
Hey, buddy. Listen, there's always usually a visit for you back to the motherland in and around holidays. And you got a big show coming up and some real exciting things in 2025. Before we get to that, I have to ask you, you were back in your new home of Vegas when the Jets were playing Vegas a few weeks back. Mm-hmm. You got an extensive amount of TV time on the broadcast. How much did your phone blow up as Kevin Sawyer dropped his fandom for you? And I believe you were with one of the guys from Kiss, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I've been training all my friends to go to hockey games. So Eric Singer, drummer from Kiss, is he and I lived in LA for years, and I took him to his first LA Kings hockey game. But he is now a Las Vegas resident. So he's if it isn't, I love just bringing people to the games, and of course at that game I'm full on Jets like I am always. And but he's wearing Knights stuff, and my wife is beside me wearing Knights stuff, and my wife and I agree to disagree at all times when the Jets and Knights are playing. So it's a bit of a battle going to the game together. I have to tell a story about. So I'm sitting watching the game, but I'm texting, and I'm not texting ever during a game. I'm watching the game, but just at that moment, Greg Mackling from CJOB is texting me saying, "Hey man, I'm at the game. I'm 2 rows over from you. Let's meet in between periods." So I'm looking down and I'm texting. So my phone is blowing up and people are going, "Hey, you asshole, what are you doing on your phone? And I'm like, what's going on here?
Blame Mackling.
And then I realized, oh, they put us on camera. Okay, so I didn't know what was going on, but I got like 100 texts from. But here's the power of TV. I'm very impressed. Everyone's watching the Jet game. I mean, people are texting me from. They go, my mom is watching you in Edmonton right now, and she said you were on TV. There you go. Look at that idiot on his phone.
Just another Gen Z. Just another Gen Z. Just obsessed with the phone.
Oh, boy. Well, let's just be okay. When they put you on camera, if they're going to, it's not during the game because they're calling the game. So that was really, really sweet of Kevin Sawyer, who I love dearly. But it was between plays, right? So we're probably just waiting for the puck to drop and looking around. But that is my disclaimer that Greg Mackling happened to be texting me at the time. So I'm on my phone.
Hey, I've got to ask you, just while we're speaking about games and hockey in general down in Vegas. I mean, you have, you've worked with everyone. You continue to play shows around North America, around the world. Of all of the people in the music biz, who are your favorite / who are the most hardcore hockey fans that you interact with?
Alice Cooper can talk hockey all day long.
He was a big Coyotes guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think he comes honestly from a sports town. He's from Detroit originally. Yeah, and Scottsdale guy now. Yeah, he can talk hockey. Let me think. Slash on tour with the band Monster Truck, great Canadian band. This would be back in, I don't know, maybe 2014, and we were over in Europe. And we were going to German Elite League hockey games together. Those guys are fierce hockey fans. A couple of Montreal fans, unfortunately, but great guys. As far as if I need to drop a name, would you like me to drop a name? I actually took Gene Simmons to a Knights game during COVID, and they invited Gene down. I went with Eric Singer as well. And Gene loves to go to, events. He just wasn't probably the biggest hockey fan, but he said, Brent, I'd like you to go to the game with me. And they were inviting him to, they ring the bell at the Knights games before the game or in between periods. So I went to the Knights game with Gene, and he's got his full Knights, jersey on. And I'm basically sitting beside him, and everybody's coming over during the game to say hi to Gene Simmons. But he's asking me the whole game, okay, Brent, so they blew the whistle there. Tell me what's going on. He was very inquisitive and was like absorbing the game, like, Brent, you got to help me here. And he loved it. I was so happy to be at the game with Gene, but I think he's a new fan. But he was wearing Knight stuff because he was at the time going to move to Vegas. And I don't think he ended up staying here, but he bought a really nice house and he's back in LA. So I can't claim if he's a Kings fan or what. Hey, he used to own a football team. Don't forget, they used to own him and Paul Stanley from Kiss owned.
Wasn't it an arena football team? The LA Kiss?
Did. The LA Kiss. Oh, look, you got that. Look at that. That's funny.
Here it is. Remus is on. Remus is on
today.
Look at
how Gene looks happy. He's having a good time. There's Eric. I love it.
For folks listening on the podcast, Remus has pulled up the picture of Gene sounding the siren, if you will, before the Knights game. There's Fitzy and Eric. And this was not a game against the Winnipeg Jets. I know that because they have you in a Knights jersey. And that would be non-negotiable. Non-negotiable for you if it was Vegas versus Winnipeg.
It's always a thing. And people do, bust my balls a lot about my allegiance. So I will claim, as always, that I love the Jets and I like the Knights. And I do love the fact that there is a lot of Manitoba DNA built into the Vegas Golden Knights. We cannot deny that.
No, listen, I mean, we just saw Keegan Colasar of all guys. And I'm pumped for him. I mean, he's got such a unique sports story. A Winnipeg kid, father played for the Bombers, in a lot of ways raised by, a legend for the Winnipeg Goldeyes, a guy that, I don't think anyone thought was going to be, you know how there's some kids that are, top first round prospects. This guy's going to be an NHL star. And then there's other guys that work for it. And he's a guy that worked for it, just got a brand new contract. And then, I mean, it goes right to the top with Krim. I mean, Kelly McCrimmon, I mean, he sort of started the Manitoba Mafia the second that team got a franchise. And whether we're talking about Lolly and Shane Knighty on the broadcast side or, Brett Howden, I mean, that is one thing. As much as a lot of Jet fans hate the Knights, I think we sort of begrudgingly give it to them for doing such a great job of picking out some incredible talent from our province. And we know they've been very successful with those young men in the lineup.
Yeah, I'm from St. James, so Crestview, and Westwood is the next little across from Portage Avenue neighborhood, and that's where Mark Stone is from. So I'm very proud of the fact that, he's from the St. James neighborhood. I actually met Kelly the other day. I went to the Oilers game, Knights and Oilers, after I went to the Jet game. And a good friend of mine is a sports agent. I'll drop names. Daryl Wolski. Hadn't seen him in years. Knew him
Beef.
Beef. I'm there with Eric again. And, we're up in some section, I will say a VIP section. And I'm just looking over and there's Wolski in town. He goes, "Hey, man, how's it going?" So we had a nice little catch up and chat. And he goes, "Hey, I'm going to meet Kelly in between periods if you'd like to say hi." And I was like, "Absolutely." So, and I'd never met Kelly. He was wonderful and sweet. And it was just nice to have a couple Manitobans chatting with each other. But I did kind of give him a little thanks. I go, "Hey, there's a lot of Manitoba on the ice here in Vegas." So
did you cop to being a Knights fan for 79 or 80 of the 82 games a year?
I didn't explain myself because I was already wearing a Knights jersey that night.
You did not need to get into it. Hey, you mentioned
I'm usually wearing Mark Stone though. That's my defense. I'm always going to wear a Winnipegger.
Hey, I mentioned you've toured around the world. You mentioned you went to, some European game. How many sporting events have you been to? And is that something you commonly do when you're on tour outside of North America? Anything that sort of stands out that you've got a chance to see that people would be interested to know about?
Yeah, soccer games in South America.
Oh,
Football.
Little intense in the crowd?
Unbelievable. Yeah, I was in Belo Horizonte in Brazil, and I feared for my life. It was just a Sunday afternoon game. I think it was, Sunday. And I was pretty happy to be there. But you have to realize that it's an explosion when a goal happens. And I just love that look, I actually have right over here, I'm just going through off tour. I finally went through a whole bunch of jerseys. I have a massive hockey jersey collection, but I have about 200 soccer jerseys here too. And I wear them on tour in all the countries when I'm usually touring with Slash. Hockey jerseys are not easy to wear drumming on stage, but soccer jerseys, awesome. So I usually wear the country, and I know better not to wear the city because you will be killed on stage if you wear the wrong jersey.
You can make a serious mistake. Wearing the wrong South American soccer jersey, I would imagine would be one of the things that puts you the most quickly in the most peril in any of those countries. Wearing the wrong kit.
It was dangerous enough because I was in a city, not the country of, I was at Belo Horizonte, and there would be people from Sao Paulo and that are like, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't wear the local team.
You're trying to get killed."
Yeah. And then I'll go from Brazil, and then a couple days later we move on to Argentina. And then, you have and I love those countries, but they are fierce competitively with it's all about soccer. Most of the world is, as we know, hockey is our sport where we come from, but generally soccer rules the world. And so if you get to Argentina next on the tour and everyone's looking at you like, what, but you don't love Argentina? And I go, I love Maradona, I love Messi, but I also love Pelé when I'm in Brazil. So
this would be interesting.
I'm from Winnipeg.
To test.
I'm a good politician. I'm a nice guy. I don't like to blur the lines. I was going to
say, now that our Canadian teams are actually legitimate, Canada made the World Cup. Alphonso Davies is a superstar. I would be interested as to the reaction if you went up and wore, because I mean, Canada's kind of like Switzerland in a lot of ways. I can't imagine it would raise the ire of a lot of people if you threw an Alphonso Davies red and white jersey on down in South America. Like, we don't have any rivals like that. It would be interesting to test that theory. I think you could get away with it. You might get some good reaction.
Yeah, no, again, I never want to piss anybody off, but I'm excited for the soccer upcoming because, it'll be in 3 countries, right?
Absolutely. Mexico,
World
the
Cup's
States, and right here. And, of course, Canada's going to be in the World Cup. I mean, I had the opportunity. I went to – you ever played a gig in Qatar?
No, Dubai, though.
That's the – okay, so I have one country on you. I have one. You are the most well-traveled individual maybe from our city ever. I have one. I was in Qatar for the 2 weeks of the World Cup. And, I mean, that was a total culture shock. But the World Cup itself is such an incredible, incredible event that, having it in, let's see, a more open and fun culture, shall we say, here, Canada, United States, Mexico, it's going to be amazing. Of course, you're coming back home for the holidays, and I guess a visit back to the Peg does not happen without a Toque show. Was it December 28th? You and the fellas firing it up again down at the Club Regent Casino for Kelly and the gang?
It is my favorite gig, favorite time of the year, and we can't wait. It's the perfect time to play too because everyone's had their Christmas fix and it's not New Year's. It's not the pressure of New Year's Eve, although we are playing New Year's in Calgary this year. But so a Saturday night, and I think as we know, there's a Jet game, so it might overlap a tiny bit. So you can go to the Jet game and then come see us after. But I just love Club Regent. I think it's a great place to see a band, and
the venue's amazing.
Oh, played there probably 3 or 4 times now with Toque, and it's our favorite spot. Obviously, I'm the hometown kid, so I'm very biased, and I love being back home. But I have to decide what Jet thing I'm going to wear on stage. So last year, here's a little fun fact. So I had just seen Kiss in Winnipeg on the end of the road. Was it in November they were there, October? And then we came back and did our Toque gig. But the Kiss guys had come through town, and you know how it is when the band plays at the arena. The Jets are very kind, and of course, often the band gets Jet jerseys. So we rolled out onto stage at Club Regent in the encore, and Todd Kearns and I happened to come out in our Jet jerseys. But when we turned around, his was Stanley, and mine was Simmons, and so the funny thing was that night at the Kiss show, the guys in the band somehow didn't end up with their jerseys, and Todd Kearns and I ended up with their Jet jerseys after the gig. Hey, if you know a couple guys, you could figure out how to ask nicely. Hey, they don't want the jerseys. They're not going to wear the jerseys. Todd and I would love the Kiss Kiss jersey.
Was the Paul Stanley jersey number 64? Like when you first said Stanley, I assumed they gave you a Logan Stanley jersey, and then I'm like, who the hell
Paul
is Simmons?
Stanley.
Oh, wait a sec. We're talking about Kiss here, not active
the guys
members of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah. So no, and probably they had the year on it, 23, Stanley 23.
That would make that would.
But
make
of course,
sense.
Kevin Donnelly gives those jerseys to the band, right?
KD
and
takes
he's at the
good
show.
care of his artists.
And he texts me later. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing with my jerseys?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, buddy. We're huge Kiss fans and huge Jet fans. We asked, hey, they're not going to wear their jerseys. Can we have the jersey?" Anyway, we were busted. Yeah, we're on stage wearing the jerseys. Kevin's in the audience. He's like, "What the hell's going on? You stole my jersey."
That was for Gene and Paul. Come on, guys. Brent Fitz is with us ahead of their holiday gig. Toque. I believe there's a few singles available. It's always a popular show that fills up. But listen, I think most Jet fans and our listeners are probably pretty familiar with you. But let's just recap right now. Touring the world and playing with Slash, and I think there's a new album. Toque, obviously, Streetheart, give us a little look ahead to 2025 in the world of Brent Fitz, other than cheering the Jets on to hopefully some big-time playoff success.
Yeah, well, any excuse to go to games. So as long as I have gigs in hockey cities, I can't wait. But yeah, I'll be back for. So I'm doing the Toque show at the end of the year here, and then I'll be back. I'm coming back with Streetheart playing at Club Regent again. So that'll be awesome. We have some other Canadian shows coming up, and then I'm hoping it's the year of Toque. I just did finish the new Slash record. I was in Orlando for a month. I was in LA for a month before that, and then I was in Orlando, Florida. And I did get to see the Jets in Tampa, so I took a road trip. That's a dedicated fan, guys.
Yeah, we got to get you some wins because I believe that
that was a terrible game.
How successful the team has been this year. Yeah, the Tampa game stunk. The Vegas game was a great game. Unfortunately, it didn't go the Jets' way late in the third period, but it was a very good one. But
the Knights have the Jets number, man.
But right now, that is true.
Okay, so here's my theory. Is the Manitobans on the team, on the Knights, work a little extra hard to stick it to
they get up for those games. There's no doubt about it.
So there's nothing I can do. I realize it's Winnipeg fighting Winnipeg on those games. Anyway, yeah, next year's going to be the year of Toque. So I got lots coming up. Next summer's going to be busy too. But I only go month to month. I'm a journeyman musician. So I never know. And I get calls all the time for strange gigs and, I'm flying around. And so you just never know.
Hey, let me ask you this. You just mentioned you were down for a month doing this album with Slash. Mm-hmm. Like normally your routine is get to a city, gig at night, might go out. Maybe you're there for 2 days, but then you're on the road. It's just next. Mm-hmm. What's the month like when you're in one spot doing an album, and what are the days like? I mean, is this like at this point, is this like a regular 9 to 5? See you in the morning with some coffee. We do this stuff for the whole day, and then you've got the evening. Is it like 20-hour sessions, and then we'll see you in 2 days? I mean, fill us in on what it's like for you during a month of intense recording for an album with someone like Slash.
It is a great question. I'm glad you're asking, because it's probably not what as glamorous or some dramatic stories you want me to make up. But before going to Florida for a month, I was in LA. So we work on songs for a month, and Slash has a very fantastic studio that we go to, and it's all business. We get there at a reasonable time. It's not like 4 p.m. We kind of start at maybe 1:00, and we put in a full day of writing songs. And the whole idea is to just keep doing it every day. So we allot like a month, and then I am not doing much at night. I'm not going out and having like drinks or anything. If anything, I was trying to go to some hockey games while I was in LA. I have a couple good friends that are in town that are always like, hey, if you want to come to a Kings game, let me know. But we just basically did a month of writing all day. I live in a hotel in LA. And I every day go to the studio with Slash. And then we go, okay, let's move it to Florida. So our producer lives in Florida. And normally we do record in LA. Everyone likes to record in LA. But our producer has this really amazing studio in Orlando. So Slash was like, let's change it up and let's go to Orlando. So the studio out there actually is a giant house. And instead of maybe getting hotels at the Hard Rock Hotel or something there, there's resorts galore there. Stay at the Disneyland resort. No. We all chose to live together in a studio environment and just woke up and had coffee and went right to recording. Now, our producer, his name's Elvis Michael Bisquette, loves sports and hockey. So those guys are doing sports betting in the morning, and Frank Sidoris, our guitar player, they love their sports betting. So they wake up and they talk about the games, and then we all get caffeinated, and we go and start working on the songs, and we're recording all day. And then the hockey games are on in the studio. We're watching all the games, and I'm watching Jet games. I watched the Bombers Grey Cup while I was recording. That's all I could do. I had my Bombers hat on, and we're in between takes. I'm like, hey, what's the score? And Slash is watching the Grey Cup, and Elvis, our producer. Pretty awesome. And then when we had a day off, we had a 2-day break. Our producer says, "Hey man, Jets are playing. We should road trip." And I'm like, "To Tampa?" He goes, "Oh yeah, let's go." So we Slash didn't go. I think Slash went home for a couple days, and the whole 5 or 6 of us jumped in a car, got an SUV, and rolled out to Tampa. Road trip to a Jet game, came back, and but it's I can't tell you that there's some sort of crazy rock and roll stuff going on. We're busy. We get in the studio and we record. That's the glamour of it. Is we wake up and we record. We're tired. We go to bed early, and
it's all business. It's all business.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to ask you one other question, and this is not really a sports-related question, although Remus and I on this program have a lot of fun reviewing stadium food and just talking about general food on the road as well. You're in a very unique situation, privileged, some would say, being the star of the show. You're going around to all these different spots. What is catering like on the road? And give us how often do you get to a place where you're like, oh my God, this is completely over the top, but take full advantage of it?
Well, some tours have a caterer with a, traveling, it's like the 5-star. So it just depends. And it depends on countries too. Because if you're in Learjets and I don't know, stadiums, and then you're flying your caterers around too, then you could basically tell the guy, okay, this is the meal I like every day. I have to have some sort of, vegan thing. I'm not vegan, but the options are there for anybody. Generally, the catering is done, arranged with the venues, and these people do tours all the time, so they know what's up. But we eat good, man. We eat good on the road because, if you don't eat good, then it's going to just kill you, being on tour all the time and going out. Nobody goes out and eats McDonald's. No way. So I was out with Jelly Roll. You guys know who Jelly Roll is? I think that was last summer's tour. I did a whole run through the U.S. I was with another artist named Caitlin Curtis, who's amazing, but on the Jelly Roll tour. And his catering was that, a really nice catered service every day. And the meals were different. So it was like a Southern cooked, all greasy meal one day, and then super, super healthy the next day. But it was all over the map. Some days you're like, all right, it's burgers and fries day, or it's a really nice, healthy, different style of something. But at night they had these barbecue festivals going on after the show, and you could get a ham and cheese and all kinds of really bad for you foods. And they had parties, and it was like anything you could. It was a little indulgent. But I will say the food is some of the best things, the perks of being on tour.
Hey, you mentioned Jelly Roll. How did you get hooked up with him, and what was it like being around him last year? Because, I think we can safely say one of the most unlikely music superstars in the world. But he's been sort of on a rocket ship over the last couple of calendars.
I know. He's definitely been around for a while. He just has had really, really explosive success lately, and well-deserved. He's got great songs, man. He's got a cool voice and great songs, and he's got a great, great band. And I just loved hanging around him because it was a family-oriented tour. It was his first big U.S. Tour. Every show was sold out before we got there, and it was pretty cool, man. You just roll out to 25,000 people a night, and everybody's singing, and it's hot, and it's summertime. It felt like, I can honestly say, it felt like the 80s. It felt like Poison and Def Leppard circa 1986 or something. And you know what I mean by that? Just happy and good. And everyone's, country music, I would say country is a little disguised in a pop format and rock now anyway. But man, it was pretty cool to be out on a summer tour and just see everybody, not a lot of clothes on the girls, and,
Old
just
school.
like an 80s. Yeah, exactly.
So how do you get hooked up with a guy like that? I think of you as more of the rock scene, metal. This is sort of coming from country, but I think you mentioned sort of now in pop. There's so much overlap, but did you just get a call from someone? Did you know him? How does that come to be?
It's great. I love that you asked me these questions, because I could share the weird inside. Here's how the inner circles of the music business. But believe it or not, I was because my pendulum swings with all different artists all the time. And I love playing with different people at any given moment. I could be doing a pop gig or a country gig or a rock gig, and that's, days apart. So I was out with Sebastian Bach.
Skid Row.
I was out playing somewhere in the Midwest. He had asked me to fill in on a couple shows. So I'm literally flying to the gig, probably in Michigan, with him. And my manager calls and says, "Hey, man, I need you to go to Nashville tomorrow." And I go, "Well, I'm out with Sebastian today, but I'm, okay, what am I doing?" And he goes, "No, there's one of my artists is going out with Jelly Roll, and I need you to become her musical director immediately. We're putting a band together. And so you're flying to Nashville." And I literally was looking at Sebastian sitting on the plane beside him. And he was like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" I said, I can't fly home with you. I'm going to Nashville in a couple of days." He was like, "What? Oh, man," because his last drummer apparently left for George Strait, got a huge country gig. And Sebastian was kind of bummed. He goes, "Oh, man, you're leaving for a country gig?" And I go, "Well, I don't know what I'm getting into, but apparently I'm going to on this Jelly Roll thing upcoming." He was like, "Oh, okay." So that's how you get on tour with Jelly Roll. Is like you get a call and I don't know, things change fast.
Sebastian Bach's still doing it, eh? I think he was just here a little while ago at some point this past year.
I know he came through. Yeah. What?
I think Reba said he was here in October.
Yes. Yeah. I do love Sebastian. He's a good friend and fellow Canadian. And yeah, we have fun in Vegas here. There's a lot of interesting cats that all live in Vegas. Like if I said, "Hey, meet me at 2:00 at the coffee shop here," and I could blow your mind with how many notable names I could drop that would happily come, and have coffee, that are all like notable musicians. Everyone moved from LA or whatever. Vegas is the new, what is it? I don't know. I mean, Nashville or LA or Nashville or Vegas seem to be the spots everyone's moving to now.
Well, the next time Winnipeg Sports Talk is down there, how about we'll do a special 2 p.m. coffee with Brent Fitz, and you can bring some of your pals, and we'll have a big group convo that could make for some great content. Brent, listen, it is always great catching up with you around the holidays. Again, Saturday, December 28th. Now that's Jets Ottawa at 6 p.m. This isn't going to be like playing the PAL back in the day, where the band goes on at 11:45 and plays until 30 minutes of last call. So it is a little earlier, but I think there is still a possibility of a double dip. And then, as you mentioned, you'll be playing with Streetheart at some point in the new year.
Yeah, so you can come right from the Jet game, everybody. Just quickly, hopefully the weather's okay. You can maybe, if as long as the Jets are winning, you can leave a couple minutes early. You'll be happy, and then come down to the Toque show.
Celebrate with Toque and the rest of the gang. Brent,
yeah, and then I'll be there. I think January 25th is the Streetheart date.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk to Kelly. Maybe we'll get a couple tickets to give away on the program for that as you make it back. Listen, pal, all the best in 2025. We'll look forward to big things for Toque. Keep an eye on what you're doing, obviously, here in January with Streetheart and everything coming up. When are we going to get to hear this Slash album that you guys have spent all this time holed up in Orlando and LA working on?
It'll take a bit. We're actually probably not going to release it till 2026. So hang fire. But I need to promote my latest video for our latest Toque song, which is called Broken. And the video actually debuted at midnight last night. So in the meantime, you can enjoy all your favorite Toque. We have a whole bunch of, original songs, and we'll be playing all those at the Toque show, and all your favorite covers too.
Well, if we don't get a DMCA, we'll throw it here in the YouTube chat as well.
I know, you got to be careful.
Check it out right on there.
Everything's a flag these days.
Don't sue us. We're helping promote. There it is. You can check it out there. But Toque Broken, find it on wherever you get your favorite videos. That is there. And again, December 28th, Saturday, after the Sens game, Toque playing down at the Club Regent Event Center. If you can find a way to grab your hands on some tickets, do it. It is a hot ticket, as it always is, in and around the holidays here in Brent Fitz's hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba. Fitzy, great catching up. Best of the season to you, my friend, and all the best in 25. Let's do it again. And I promise you, I will be taking you up on this coffee with Fitz in Vegas at some point this year. We'll see you down there.
I can't wait. We're going to do it. Cheers.
Thanks,
Happy holidays.